mouse didn't move. I was like, okay, well, he's clearly, like, not good. And then I went out just now, and he's like,
okay, here we go. Well, welcome again, and this is the agenda. If you guys are in the WebEx, you'll see my screen where I am sharing what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to kind of talk about some things from 101, maybe some things you guys have learned the last week. Maybe you guys have jumped into WCS and saw some things. You know, even like from yesterday with the workshop, you know, maybe some things have kind of jumped out at you that you really want to talk about or you have some questions about. If I don't have the answer, you know my drill. I'll go definitely find that answer for you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into WCS a little bit more than we did with the first one. This one isn't as intense where we have to actually build a page. What we're going to do in this particular training, we're going to take an existing page, which is probably what you guys are probably going to do most of the time, just edit pages that are already out there. I'm just going to show you some ways to do that. We're going to touch a little bit on search. I want to teach you guys how to publish. We talked a little bit about it in the workshop yesterday about the release tags, and I'm just going to show you what that process is again, just so you guys are, you know, familiar. And I'll definitely send the links out after this, so you'll have them. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about some other features in WCS, like the audit history, you know, the status. If you're trying to find out, you know, where your particular content is in the process, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how you share, how you can be lazy and build something in one environment and share it among other environments. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some bookmarking, just like it sounds, you know, taking something, you know, putting like, hey, this is something I need to go back to later. Let me put a little stamp on it and say, hey, when I come back, it should be there. Same premise as, you know, any other bookmark, like when you're reading a book. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you go about checking in your work. Really simple process, not really, you know, anything detailed, but just how you check in your work. And then I'm going to leave, you know, the rest of the time for you guys to have those questions if you need to. So let's jump in here really quick. Let's go in. So, and we talk a little bit, so have you guys, just, you know, just a quick refresher, have you guys been in WCS at all and been working and, you know, what are you seeing, those type of things? Have you been in it at all?
I learned a new thing.
Sorry.
Go ahead. How to create child assets this week. So
did you really? Oh, yeah, we talked about it yesterday. How'd it go?
We're getting there.
We can touch on it if you need me to. You know, this will probably be something good for all three of you, just to kind of see where you're going with it. Just kind of touch base on, you know, how to add a child to something. You said the page was new. This was a new page you were building?
No, I am going through their formatting issues. So, like on the plan details,
okay.
Like maximum copay individual in network, and it doesn't need all that text. It only needs to say like out-of-pocket maximum. I hyphenated. So I'm just going in and cleaning up and making sure that the correct things are displaying. So the WCS part of it isn't, there's a lot of clicking, but it's not that hard. There's just a lot of steps.
Okay. We can touch on it right when we talk about editing an existing page. That'll fit right in there.
Yeah.
So what about you guys, Shannon and Jackie? Have you guys been in it yet?
That actually was Shannon.
Oh, my bad. I thought that was because we were talking yesterday. I was talking with, was it Jamie? I thought that was Jamie I was talking to yesterday.
I was getting confused too. Yeah, you talked to me. It was a similar thing that we were trying to figure out. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because we were trying to add a child, and I was like, okay, if you need me, just let me know. And so that's kind of, I guess that's where I got confused. Okay.
My question
I got to get you guys' voices down like I have everybody. You know, as time goes on, I'll definitely get you guys' voices, and you'll definitely get mine because I think mine kind of stands out. But, you know, as time goes on, you know, you got to learn the voices. That's just kind of environment we work in. So once I get you guys' voices, I'll be good. Okay.
I'm still learning too.
And it's still something I'm like, okay, who was that? I'm sorry. And it'll be somebody that's been here a while. I'm like, oh, wow. you didn't sound like yourself. So, yeah, it takes a while. All right. So let's jump right in. So, good. I'm glad you guys are getting in there and kind of getting your feet wet and you know, kind of trying things out and, you know, seeing how it going and doing some trial and error, you know, seeing what works and what doesn't work. And, you know, definitely if you're running into issues that, you know, are past that, definitely reach out to me and I can, you know, point you in the right direction or help you out with that. So, good. So let's talk a little bit about the existing page. We'll talk about how we go in and just kind of do the two modes. So when you're going in and you're kind of working through WCS, you have two different ways of editing content. So if you're a developer, more than likely you're going to use the regular mode, and that's the mode that you kind of see when you first log in. Most of the content contributors, it depends on your preference. You know, it's just like some people like coffee, you know, black. Some people like coffee with cream. You know, it depends on your preference at this point. Usually, you know, a developer, they'll use the form method. If you're a content contributor, you know, you like the web method because it shows you exactly, you know, what that particular page looks like as it is right now, and all you have to do is edit it live. So it you know, some people, for me, I could either go both ways because I've been both a developer and a content contributor. So, you know, maybe today I said, no, I'm feeling kind of formy. Tomorrow, I'm feeling kind of webby. So, you know, it kind of depends on your cup of tea. So let's kind of dig in and show you how we go about editing an existing page, just really quick. So I'm going to go into WCS. So, like, for example, right here, this is something that's already open, so I can just grab it. This is a row, and it has all these columns in it. And say I just need to edit. I can even edit from right here. Maybe I just need to edit this column 1 list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. Let's click on it really quick. Let it load. And then what we're going to do is just kind of edit, and you use that by the pencil. And this is the mode that I'm talking about. So right now it's in the form mode. This is kind of, you know, the developer's mode. This is kind of the default. So this is like, you know, what you're going to see regardless when you first log in. You're never going to, I've never seen a default to the web mode unless they specifically build it like that, and I've never seen it even in my previous job. It always defaults to this particular mode. So what I'm going to do is this is how the form mode. So if you wanted to edit from here, you just click on the little pencil. But what I kind of wanted to show you guys was the web view because I think it's kind of hit or miss. Some people tend to not because that's an extra step, you know, to click on that and wait. So this is what it looks like live. You have three drop downs like an accordion style, so you can click on and it drops down. And so if it's editable, then what you do is you click on this little pencil, and it's going to tell you if it's editable. So give it a second. We'll give it a second here. And so if it's editable, I'm going to have to get that right. So you highlight here. So right here, you don't even have to go in. You can click on this and see how it opens up a little box for you. And then all you have to do is just type in what that change is. I'm not going to update this right now because I'm afraid I'll forget to check it back in. So that's kind of how you do that. And then when you're done, all you have to do is click the little save button, and there you go. And then, you know, you can put in your release tags, which we'll touch on a little bit later, to have it published live. And that goes for these as well. Sure, go ahead.
This is Shannon. So would this be kind of a cheater way to use the preview?
Yeah. If you really want to see what it looks like, this is actually a way for you not to have to go in here and figure out which one of these to use. And I should have talked about this in the 101. If you want to go in and kind of look at what it looks like live, I always choose this and go in and just see what it looks like and edit from there, you know, rather than trying to see. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely a way to cheat. So you're definitely right on that one. And then these are editable as well. I'll get that word right soon. these are editable as well, so you can just go in here and update that. And it just gives you a nice little box, you know, if you need to bold some things, if you need to underline, you need to put a link in there. You can edit that right from this particular screen. So when you're done, you just click on your little floppy and save all your work, and there you go. So that's how you kind of edit a page. You can easily just kind of hover over it, and it'll let you know if you can edit just by doing like this and hovering over it, and then you click, and then you'll know if it's editable or not. I think I don't think the titles are editable. So you'd have to go in and find where these are, which is pretty much a matter of going right here and just clicking on this, and then, you know, going back to the form mode probably. More than likely you have to go to the form and changing that from there. But the meat of it, yeah, I'd go to the web mode. See, all you have to do is change that right here. That's not a big deal either. So you can flip back and forth too. Just kind of try to get it done quicker. This is just a quicker way to do it. Rather than going into the content tree, you know, kind of doing a hunt and peck for your stuff. If you know where it is, just edit like that. That's kind of the easier way to do it. All right.
Is there ever a time where that won't work? Is there ever a time that web kind of preview won't work?
There are things in there that are quote-unquote locked down, like I just kind of showed you, things that you won't be able to edit, but about 99.5% of the time, most of the things that you need to edit, especially from a content perspective, all you have to do is swap over to that web mode to edit it. You don't have to, there's not really a time where it doesn't work. You know, just like those, you know, what I just said where, you know, you can't click on it and update, more than likely than not, you'll be able to edit the majority of the page. That's kind of what it breaks down to. Did that answer your question? I feel like I kind of skirted around it.
Yeah, no, that answers my question. I just haven't had a lot of experience with, I guess, web mode yet. So, yeah, I'll have to see.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, like I said, this is just like a matter of preference. Maybe this isn't, you know, something you want to, maybe this isn't easier for you. Some people like the hard way, and I'm one of those people, God forbid. You know, I'm one of those people where, no, I'd rather just stay over here and do the form mode, and I think that's just because I'm a developer. So, still have that developer mode. So, with that being said, someone else had a question? Who else had a question?
No, it was me, but I'm good, thanks.
Okay. So this kind of just goes into detail about what I just kind of explained, and then see how the WYSIWYG opens up for you. This is how it looks kind of more in Member Secure. It's got this little blue background. You know, over in public, it's got a gray. Not a lot of difference, just a color. That's all that is. There's no big, you know, and then it has JSON modules like we talked about yesterday in the workshop. So you'll be able to edit those JSON modules. If you're working in Member Secure, you'll be able to edit those right on the page as well. So it's not a big difference between, you know, that web mode and that form mode from portal to portal. So you should be good, Jamie, you know, being able to just go ahead, you know wherever you are and update. I've not seen it fail yet. Even in my previous job, it was always easy to switch from web to form mode. You know, it just depends on that person's preference. So the view, now when you're looking at that web view up here, yes, I can definitely attest that will fail. You know, you have to sit here and play around with each one of these and find out which one works the best for what you're trying to achieve. But in essence, I would do like I just kind of suggested. I would always use this as a way to cheat and see what it looks like already, because this is going to show you what it looks like live when you switch over to that web mode.
That's so much easier than what I've been doing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm glad I was able to show you guys that. Okay. And so let's jump right into search. That's going to be your golden rail. That's going to be where you kind of gravitate towards, especially as you start building content. you'll just tend to search more and more and more for your stuff. Just doing like a quick search, maybe, just being able to go in. And I think I'm not sure. I think I showed you guys, one of the things that Matt and I kind of stumbled upon one day. We were looking for stuff, and, you can just go in here and just type in your AF, and then you kind of, that might have been Deidre. And so you can find out all your stuff right there. So everything that I've built in this particular portal, I just populated right here just by going into that advanced search and searching for my stuff. And as time goes on, maybe you guys know something different. And we're going to get a little detailed about search in the 103 because there's a couple of other ways that you can search, but this is like a general search. So let's kind of do, like, I always go to health and wellness. That's just, I don't know why it's kind of embedded in my brain, but that's kind of where I always gravitate towards. So that's how you kind of do a search. In the 103, there's a really good table that shows you, different ways you can search. Maybe like you want to see health but not wellness, wellness but not health. There's different ways about going about that. But just for a general search, you can always type in, words that you're familiar with, and then, you get the search results. So that's kind of, the gist of how you go about searching. And then, you want to kind of get detailed, and this is where we talked about the naming conventions in the 101. This is where that's going to come into play because if you're naming them really detailed, and if I see how I did health and then I did a dash, let's see what the difference is. So right now we have 42 results, right, because I did health, dash, and dash, wellness. Let's do underscore and see what the difference is. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to do a search. So we get 42 items still. So that means that what that boils down to is that the person that built these particular pieces were very detailed with how they named them. They were, so you can even look right here. They put the dash in the health and wellness, and I'm quite sure if you go into these particular components, you'll see that health underscore and underscore wellness were used in some kind of way in there. So they were very detailed with how they named them. And that's going to be important. That's why that I kind of push naming conventions important because what you don't want is 442 items. You don't want a ton of items out there. So if you name these things correctly, in the end, when you start searching for your stuff, once you start building all this stuff, it'll be out there and 42 results isn't that bad. Think about a Google page. You can get 42 results almost on one page. So that's not a bad result. But then 400 pages, I got to look for my stuff. That's because you've named it something general and you're not able to kind of pare down. But there are ways to pare down, but we'll talk about those later. But I'm just kind of driving home the point how it's important to really get detailed with how you name your components when you start building them. Because I guarantee you, if you name something alert 002, I guarantee you there are 4 more out there that are out there that you're like, oh my God, and it may be even 10 out there that have named the same. All of them will have a different asset ID because each asset is unique, but I guarantee that name is going to be out there the same. So just be cognizant of that when you start building all this stuff, and then later on you have to search for stuff. So we talked a little bit about that, and we just talked about, I talked about right here, so that particular health and wellness topic, if you look under the hood, see that person did health dash in their URL. So it was something in there where they did health dash and dash wellness. So they did something very detailed for it to stand out and show up in those search results. So it's not really the naming convention. It has to be something in there, maybe even in the copy. I wouldn't do in the copy health dash and, but like one of those particular fields in that particular component that you're filling out, you want to get detailed about it. And the naming convention is the ideal place, though. Even though we did this with the URL, the naming convention in that name field should be the place that you go about being very detailed about it. So this is kind of what I just kind of touched on a little bit about doing the advanced search. So when you go in, and maybe you already know, when you're searching for something, maybe health and wellness, and maybe that you built like a page. maybe you know that you built like it was an image or, you know, it was a page header. Maybe you know that particular thing. The advanced search is where that comes into play. So what you would do is, you drop that. It's not the advanced search. It's more of the search, and then you kind of pare down those results. So like maybe it was an image, right? Say health and wellness, and I built an image with health and wellness. In one of the fields, I used health-and-wellness. So let's see what I have. Nothing for an image. So let's go back in here. So maybe health and wellness, maybe I did a public page. And then we're going to search again. Okay, so that pares down the results significantly. So if I do health-and-wellness, and I drop down in here and I say, show me all the public pages that have that particular key terms in it, then it bears me down to 2 results. So that gives you a really detailed way to go about searching for your stuff. If you know exactly what type of component it was that you built, then that's kind of the best way to kind of pare down those results. Okay? So, you guys have any questions before I jump into release tagging? Because I know I kind of touched on it yesterday, and I'm just going to kind of break it down a little bit more for you guys. All right, I'll keep moving along. So let me tell you a little bit about how you publish content. In the beginning, when we first started WCS, we had a little button up here that said publish, and all you had to do was just click on, you know, publish, and it would take your stuff, and you could choose, just like this drop down, you could initially choose how you wanted content to go. You could tell it, hey, I just needed to go to SIT right now. Hey, I just needed to go to CI right now. And that was how we initially did it. Now to, you know, kind of streamline things a little bit more, we're using what we call release tags. Now let me give you a perfect example of a no-no. This is a perfect, I'm glad it's up here. So if you look at this particular, let's put it in edit mode. So if you look at this particular component, the person that built it, and it looks like it was John Ulrich, and what you look at in the tags field, you see there are keywords in here. Now, in a perfect world, we could use keywords in here to find our stuff. But we don't want to do that. So if I see you guys out there putting extra stuff in there just to find your stuff, it's a tap on the hand like, bad girl, bad girl. You can't do that, because what happens is, like yesterday, we're working on trying to clean some of this stuff out, and you see we have this top nav image, we have this top nav key in here, we have getting better care key in here, and those shouldn't be in there. So this particular field, this tag field, is reserved for how you want your stuff to go to the next stage. So if you're trying to get something published, this is the field you want to use, right? So we go in here, and we tag, and we go release, and I kind of showed you guys this yesterday, and it shows up all of these tags. So whatever date, and usually I'll send you guys a link out to the release schedule. There's a schedule, and usually you have to have your content ready, I think it's a week before, because there's a whole process that goes behind how things get published. And I think in 103 I talk about how we go about the publishing path. But this is the field you're going to use to publish your content. So if you have something today, and say that I think there's a release set up for tomorrow, but you would have had to have it done by like last week, and it'll already be queued up and ready to go for tomorrow. So you would have said release, and that's another key thing. The release has to be lowercase. It can't be all caps. I know if you go in here, you probably see some in there when you type this in. Let's go back in and see what it does. Wait, so there's none with, because it's an autocomplete. So I'm going to type in here, and okay, so now usually there are some in there that are in all caps. Those are definitely ones you do not want to use all caps, because guess what? Your stuff is not going to go. The format that they have right now is the lowercase release, so capital R, and the other 3 words and all the other letters are lowercase. So you should definitely not use all caps. And the way this process works is this. So this is the format. So release, month, date, 4-digit year. That's what you should use. Now, there's a breakdown for that. and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So, say like we were talking yesterday, I think it was, let me get it straight, it was Jamie. Okay. No, it was Jackie. Was it Jackie or Jamie? I'll get it straight. But suppose we're creating a new piece of content, right? And what we want to do is, okay, I'm going to build children under that. So I'm going to build this whole brand new section for WCS, and what I'm going to do is I need to publish it. It needs to go live. Everything's been approved. It's ready to go. You do not have to tag all those children in that particular piece because it's brand new. So that if it's brand new and you have children in it, it's never been published before, the only place you need to edit, the only place you need to put that tag in is at that parent level. So, for instance, let's kind of drop down in here. I'm going to keep going because I know that's going to be slow. But if that's only the immediate parent, you don't have to go all the way up to the top. You only go to that parent that you've just built, if that makes sense. And then suppose like, okay, so it's been out there a while, it's published, it went along fine, it's been out on the site and it's good, right? Suppose like someone comes to you, you get a JIRA ticket that says, hey, we need to add some new content in here. Maybe you add a new child in there, right? Then at that particular point, if you're going in and you have to add that new child, you have to put that tag on at the parent level and that particular child, not the other children that are out there. So that's kind of, you have to kind of be mindful of that. If it's a child, maybe you're just adding a new child in there, just a new child, period, maybe just like some random piece that's in there, you only have to edit the child. No, let me get it. I always get confused about this. You only have to edit, you only have to put the tags in at the child level and that immediate parent. So anytime you add something new, you have to tag the parent and you have to tag the child. But if you're doing something brand new, spanking brand new, then that's the only time you would only put that tag on the parent. I want you guys to be clear on that because I would hate for you to have to go through that process, a week before and then your stuff not go through because you didn't tag it correctly or I didn't tell you correctly.
So, Yasha, can I talk through it just to make sure I'm understanding? So if I create a brand new container and all of the modules at the same time and it is pushed to dev that way, I only need to put it in the container tag. Yep. But if I do like a container on Tuesday and then the modules like next Wednesday, Thursday, I need to put it in all of them.
Yes. If it has it already been published though? That's the question. That container that you built the week prior, has that already been published? It has?
And by published,
we're speaking hypotheticals right now.
Yeah. Like, so I'm trying to, and by published, we mean it's been saved and through a release?
No, published means
saved?
No, published means it's live on the site.
Got it. Okay. So if it's not live on the site, we can still just put it on at the parent level.
If it's brand new, so yes. Okay. If you're still working through it, say like you work on something last Monday, and you come back to it today, you're just kind of working into it. You're not really even putting tags on it yet, anyway, because you don't want to put those tags in until it's done, it's approved, it's ready to go. So if you worked on something last Monday, brand new, spanking new, then you want to add new stuff to it, say this week, you're still okay to add just at the parent level because technically you haven't published it yet.
That makes sense. Okay. So when you're first bringing something new, you put the tag on later when you're ready to go. Got it.
When it's ready to go. I wouldn't put it in there before then at all because what's happening is they have a tool that's going through and searching all the components that are out there and it's looking for a tag for that particular release date. If that tag is already, say like you put it on there just because, I'm going to go ahead and put this on, just so I can, get that part out of the way. it's going to publish it because you put that tag on it. So I would wait until I'm completely done and I'm ready for it to go. Because what's going to happen is they're going to pull that thing in and they're going to publish it. And it's automated. So it's not like they're going in and clicking on each one. It's going to see that thing in the tag field and it's going to push it. So I would wait until it's completely done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? And so I think a lot of and I just kind of want to touch on, because when we initially implemented this, it got really, kind of hairy because people talked about how things are buried. So this is like a prime example right here. See this about us? And then that's like the parent, but then you have an about us here that's under that. This is what's considered the immediate parent. So if, say, like this medical policies right here, say I were to go in and edit that and, make some changes to the copy maybe, I would have to put a tag on this medical policies and just this about us. I wouldn't have to go all the way up here to the accreditation row because that's not considered the immediate parent. That's considered the overall parent. And that's not what you have to do. You're kind of going overboard with it at that point. So what you want to do is just do it at the immediate parent level. Make sense? I want to make sure I'm not confusing anybody.
What would be the consequences? What would be the consequences if we did put it all the way up?
I'm sorry. Repeat your question again. That's janky, right?
Yeah. I'm just curious. What would be the consequence if we did tag a parent that was all the way at the top?
You're publishing it over again, so it wouldn't be like something that's detrimental. But I want to take an example like with Seda. Seda was the first person to have to really, kind of understand where she had built like this whole section, and there was like tons of stuff in there, and it was like subheads under subheads and under subheads. And she went through, and I know she had like 40 or 50 pieces, so she had to go through and put the tag on everything, when in essence, because it was brand new, all she had to do was go to that parent row. So it wouldn't hurt anything if you did, but if it's something like, especially if it's something brand new that you created, and you created all this stuff under it, it becomes tiresome, and it becomes, something that's mundane when you could have eliminated that by just doing it at the parent level. So it wouldn't break anything if that's what you're asking. You you wouldn't screw anything up, but you're kind of adding extra work for yourself. That's basically what you're doing at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't. Oh my God, she did it at it's just something you don't have to even worry about. Because sometimes what happens is you're at that level down at one of the children, and my dog is making noise. I had to see what she was making noise about. And sometimes you're making these changes, and sometimes you have to think about what you're really trying to accomplish at that point. So it's just a matter of being cognizant. And like I said, I'll definitely send you guys the link so you'll know, exactly how to go about, this chart right here. It's definitely out on Confluence. So it's not something like, what? Wait, I did this. How do I go about it? And then this is just a little visual just to show you where that immediate parent is, where the child is, and the actual release tag. And like I told you guys yesterday in the workshop call, we're working on getting all those long lists of things out so they're, which one, but you're not going to choose one of the older ones anyway. You're going to put in the new date. So it really serves no purpose to have them all in there. And then if you guys are working with Matt in some of his work that he's doing over with the lights on work, these are more of how how they have to tag. I don't think you guys are working on anything with Matt, are you? Because I think you guys are pretty much secure, right? Working with secure.
We are. I actually did something on the public site, so that's
okay.
But I think maybe the majority of the work would be on secure. I don't know, Shannon. Have you been on secure a lot, or?
He's doing more. Oh, go ahead.
I said I've really only done the secure site.
Okay. So Matt is kind of working. He does what's called lights on. So that's more along the lines of the older content management system and keeping those particular content pieces moving. So if you guys were working on that, and this is out there as well, so they're tagged a little differently. And then, if you ever need to go back, like, didn't she say something about working with Matt? Then the tags will be a little different. So you would have to put in the JIRA ticket as well as that release date. And if in that particular tool that they're using, it's called Live Ready, so you would have to put that Live Ready in. But, this is something that just keep it in the back of your mind. If you ever have to work with Matt, these are the ways you have to go about tagging that stuff. But since you guys aren't working with him right now, just keep it in the back of your mind. All right, so let's talk about some other fun stuff. So we have what's called an audit history, and that shows you just is exactly what it says. It gives you a history of the particular piece that you're looking at. Maybe like you want to know what happened to a particular, like this particular row that we'll stick with this. Like this row, we can take a look and see, its history. So it can tell you who's all touched it. So at this particular case, it looks like only Ann. So, like, for instance, maybe you have a problem with it. Maybe it's something you need to ask a question about. Then it just puts a name on who's been touching it. So you can say, hey, Ann, do you remember this particular piece? She probably won't because she's probably touched hundreds since then. But then you can kind of give her, like, you can give her the asset ID. You can say, hey, I'm working on this and I'm having a problem with it. Can you help me out? So the audit history is really good to, kind of put, like, a history on all of the content that you're building. So that's one cool thing that WCS has. So you don't have to kind of scramble around and find out, the history of a page. Status. Now, this is something that kind of went away in public, but it's still available in Member Secure, where you can kind of see where a page is in the process. But for public, what we have is this global utilities right now, which is a little similar, where you can kind of look and see, like, where a particular asset is. Now, it's a little bit more complex than secure. Right now, what this does is you can see all of the stuff that's out there, all the stuff that's checked out to everybody. You can see everything. Then you can download this list, and it's best to kind of download this and then just sort by your name if you're just trying to see, where your stuff is in the process. And then it just gives you the days checked out. So it just kind of gives you a really good idea of who has stuff checked out, how long it's been, and what that asset is. Really not detailed as secure, but it'll get there. This is just kind of the bare. This has only been up, I think, like a little over a month, maybe 2 at best, but that's kind of where everything's kind of going. This will get a little bit more detailed as time goes on. Right now it's just giving you the gist of every component that's out there. So let's talk a little bit about how you can be lazy. Suppose you build something. Let's go back to our little example here, the row. Suppose I'm building this row, right? Now it has slot lists in it. It has this column 1 list in it. It has this column 2 list in it. And all of that's already nice and built, right? So I don't want to have to rebuild this. I don't want to have to go in and try to rebuild it and figure out how each piece works. So what you do is you share it. For instance, Shannon, suppose you're working on this and you're like, this would be really great. I'm working over in Employer today. I want to do the same thing over in Employer. What you do, you're going to share that in your environment. So you go to Content, and you can tell right off the bat if it's able to share right here, if it's highlighted. If you weren't able to share this, it would be grayed out like this, save and close. But because it's shareable, you can click on this share, and you can take this whole row and you can tell it where to go. Say, hey, share this over in Employer Public, and you can just say that, and then you hit save. If you're building it in multiple sites, maybe you're working in Employer Public and you're working in Broker and you're working in Secure. If you want to share that, maybe you have to build that particular piece on multiple sites, then you just click on them all and just tell it to go over there. And then you just hit save, and then when you go to that particular environment, that content should be over there in that particular area. So that's a way to just, kind of not have to recreate the wheel, so to speak. Now, here's the kicker. You can only share to environments that you have access to. Now, the reason I had access to all those because I trained, so I have access to all of them. But you guys, you probably only have access to what, like the DAM and maybe, whatever environment you're working in. But if you have access to more than one, like I do right here, say you have like, I don't know, CNS Public and Employer Public, you can share among those two. So you have to have access to the site that you're trying to share to in order to share it. So that's the kicker for it. Any questions on that, guys? I just kind of want to make sure you guys are still with me. We got about 11 minutes, and I kind of want to make sure you guys have time for questions. All right, let me keep rolling. So I talked about share. Bookmarks. Bookmarks are just like they are, just like it says. You have some content that you've done a search for, and let's go back to my good old health and wellness. We'll do a search for it, and I kind of broke it down. Say, like, this is a really good search, right? I don't want to have to go back and search, or I can't remember those. Sometimes you're searching for stuff. Think about how when you search on Google and you get a really good bed of search results, and you don't want to have to look for that what keywords did I use to get those results? This is the same kind of premise. But in this particular case, you have health-and-wellness. So you've done a really good search, and you've gotten 2 results. You can bookmark this result right here. So you can use this little blue box. You click on that, and then you have to select them all. So you have to click on one, and then you hit bookmark. And then what happens is when you go back to your home page, remember I told you in 101 you can always go back home. You go to bookmarks and see there it is down there. I think it's getting better care right there. And then if you don't need it, eventually you may not need it, then just delete it. You can click on it and then just delete the bookmark. This is your own personal space right here. So that's a cool thing that we have. And then it's also available if you go to My Work over here in the left nav, then it's all those bookmarks are going to be available over here as well. So maybe you have to edit like the child of that particular bookmark. You can always drop down in here, and you can edit directly from the bookmark. You don't have to go back into the content tree and hunt it down. So that's a really good tool that you have available to you. There's many ways for you to edit the content without having to for it to be painful, so to speak. And then the last thing I kind of want to touch on is kind of checking in your work. Normally what happens is the best practice is, when you're finished for the day, things that you're working on, just check them in. But, we get busy and sometimes things are kind of left out there. And that's okay to leave stuff out there. But sometimes something's kind of, quote, unquote, hot, and a lot of people have to touch it. Maybe a developer needs to touch it and add some things to your particular component that you're building. Whenever you go into a particular piece and you click on it, if I click on this right now, if I click on this particular component and I hit that pencil button, that's considered checked out to me. No one else can touch it. So somebody may come behind you and say, hey, can you check that back in? And sometimes you got to go in. They'll tell you the asset ID. Most times somebody can tell you what the name of it is or give you an asset ID, and then you just kind of check it in. So while it's not detrimental that you check it in, it's just good practice, especially if multiple people have to touch it, or those particular cases where you've got something checked out and you're on PTO. So think about those type of things. So just when you're working, just think about, if multiple people have to touch it, then it's kind of best to check those things in, because that's the worst case scenario. Someone call you home. Yeah, could you check that stuff back in? So those type of things, just kind of be cognizant of those things. And that is it. ladies. So basically, this kind of gives you the how to add a release tag in the appendix. So if you're ever, I'll definitely send you the link to where it is on Confluence, and then, I'll send you the link to this particular document as well. But, just if you're kind of hairy on how to add a release tag, that's in the appendix for you. And then it kind of shows you how to go about adding a tag. And I kind of showed you guys this really cool trick yesterday about how you can just tag from your search results. You don't have to go directly into the particular component. You can tag it directly from where you are. So that's another cool thing. So multiple ways to publish, multiple ways to get things pushed up to that next environment. All right, guys. So any questions right now?
I don't have any. I mean, I'm sure they'll come up.
Of course. And I'll be right here, sitting here with my hands folded, saying, okay, let's go. Just like yesterday. I was like, shoot, I was ready to go yesterday, Jamie. She was like, I need to get a try. I was like, okay, yeah, let's get it. And you were like, okay, I'll try it first. I was like, okay. Okay, let me know if I can help. So, but yeah, okay, good. So this is the conclusion of 102. Thank you guys so much, and I will definitely send this particular document out as well as the links to the release tagging schedule as well as how to add the release tag and, that particular chart that shows you, the conditions on how you need to tag a child versus tagging a parent and or how to tag both. All right, guys? Thanks so much, and have a great afternoon.
Yasha.
You are welcome.
Have a good day, guys.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.